Are you ready to untangle from your past, recover from heartbreak, and revive your life? This is Soul CPR with your host, Ann Papayoti. We've all had soul-crushing experiences and lost ourselves in our pain, but there is a way out. On this podcast, Amazon best-selling author, award-winning life coach, and advice columnist Ann Papayoti helps us navigate the path from heartbreak to healing. So now, please welcome the host of Soul CPR, Ann Papayoti.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Soul CPR Healing Out Loud. I'm your host, Ann Papayoti, and I thank you for joining me. Today, we'll continue what we began last week, a powerful, ongoing conversation with one another and with ourselves. And I greatly appreciate your being a part of it. Last week, we talked about the fact that the month of January kicks off a season of divorce with a spike in inquiries and filings between now and March to dissolve marriages. And we talked about being prepared for divorce. Now, betrayal may or may not be involved, but it's one thing if you're a couple in agreement to be ready for both the practical and the emotional journey of this major life transition. It's another if you're simply ready to abandon ship, as they say. But please do go through the steps we discussed in the first episode and try to get on the same page with your partner first. But do what you must to clear the deck and your conscience. And yet it's still another thing if you're leaving an abusive marriage or committed relationship. Remember, this type of situation requires a carefully planned and choreographed exit. So please seek guidance from a local organization or reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline for resources, guidance, and support. And Caleb, oh yes, great. Caleb's already put that on screen for you, that information. Because remember that this includes emotional and psychological abuse and we will dedicate an entire show to this topic because it's often confusing and it gets minimized even in therapeutic settings sometimes. I know my own experience was that the therapist that I had hoped would call my husband out on his emotionally abusive ways was instead charmed by him. And I was once again left silent in my pain. So don't stop seeking help for emotional abuse. It's real and it's real harmful. Now, as far as betrayal, which is the topic of today's show, there are many forms of personal relationship betrayal, like being lied to or cheated on, withholding and hiding truths, stolen from, breaking a confidence, neglect, abandonment, and of course, infidelity, physical, emotional, financial. Can you think of others? Probably, right? It depends on your experiences. And of course, there are professional relationship betrayals as well that are quite hurtful that you have to learn to navigate if and when they occur. But regardless of where they take place in our lives, betrayal feels personal, doesn't it? And like an acquaintance said to me recently, the most hurtful thing about betrayal is that it ever happened in the first place. So in today's conversation, we're going to focus on the more straightforward marital betrayal that happens when you are blindsided by one of two scenarios. One, you discover your partner having an affair and your partner denies it but asks for a divorce. Or scenario number two, by your partner saying, I want a divorce, and then you soon discover they have another lover waiting for them. Now, the majority of my client base during divorce season is in one of these unexpected, unforeseen situations. So how does one survive this trauma? It's what we call the betrayal trauma. So, when we speak of any kind of season like winter or here in North Texas, tornado season, we often talk of preparing for it so we can survive it. But how do you prepare for divorce season if you're the one who's betrayed and blindsided? And why does this or any betrayal hurt so badly? Well, I asked my support group last night what was most hurtful for them, whether they asked for the divorce or not. And some experience betrayal in the form of emotional abuse, others financial, others neglect, others sexual infidelity, some combinations of the aforementioned. And the emotional response and hurt was the same no matter the type of betrayal. Now, I jotted their answers down on some post-it notes. I'm a post-it note queen, so let me kind of look over here and see what those answers were, and I'll share them with you. One answered it was who the betrayal was that was the most hurtful for her, because it happened to be with one of her friends. Another said the most hurtful thing was that she could no longer really trust herself because she had ignored so many red flags. Another because she had wanted to spend her life with this person and she would never have done this to him. So it was that confusing thought, how could this person do this to her? The person she committed her life to. Another answered, because it changes who you are. That's the most hurtful thing. You become this person who's like becomes a detective, always, checking email, checking, the phone and doing things she would have never done. It changed who she was and how she showed up. Another answered, you bring it into the next relationship, ill affecting it, right? Another answered, because she had never in her life felt unimportant. And now she knew that feeling. It's hard to heal. Another answered, because the lies that they use, so the psychological unsettling, the lies and trying to upright yourself from all of that. So have you experienced betrayal? What was the most hurtful thing about it for you? Put it in the comments. Let's see where this heads, what kind of conversation it takes us on, or feel free to call in. The pain of heartbreak, regardless, is often indescribable, isn't it? I mean, it is emotional, but it will manifest in physical discomfort. And people will often, describe the feeling in their stomach as gut wrenching, or the pain in their chest as if their heart is literally breaking. Because when trust, which is the foundation of all committed relationships, is broken, the entire relationship begins to implode and nothing now seems true or safe. And so the betrayed now questions everything about the relationship and doubts everything the betrayer says and does and goes back to the very beginning, kind of re-examining all of it. Think about a healthy relationship, There's shared core values and implied trust that neither would ever deliberately hurt the other. But make no mistake, betrayal is a deliberate choice with hurtful consequences. And the collateral damage is that the betrayed self-esteem and self-worth is in the gutter. And that kind of damage can last a lifetime and affect every other aspect of the person's life if they do not do the work to heal. And healing from betrayal is a process. It's not an event. There's no start and end time. You have to give it its due time. So let's take a closer look. Now, some of you may be asking, what is betrayal trauma? I've never heard of this, but betrayal trauma is a psychological concept that describes mental and emotional distress. And well, for most, the betrayal is the most debilitating event of their lives thus far. And whatever they thought they knew to be true is now shaken and turned upside down. Kind of, think of a snow globe, and it's just shaken and till it becomes blurry and unclear to what the original scene even was. And so it's surreal at first. And most experience shock by this unexpected, uninvited, seemingly random discovery that violates their senses and values. And the aftershock is this constant badgering of the need to know why. Why did this happen? Why did you lie? And that's the emotion. I get it. So betrayal trauma can start like receiving any sudden bad news involving loss. You may first feel in shock, and then you may feel like you're going crazy, especially if you're told you're crazy. And this may happen if your spouse denies cheating. So, look, the betrayer is often so caught up in a pattern of lies and deceit that lying just comes easy. So, even if they ask for the divorce and just want to get out and get on with it, they still do not want to get caught because they want to protect their reputation and control the narrative. They want to reveal the new person, their time, and in their storyline. Now, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about betrayal, the trauma, the pain, and we'll get to how to heal from it. So don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to Soul CPR. I'm Ann Papayotti. Before the break, we were talking about betrayal and the feelings that come with the trauma, and that at first you may be in shock, then you may possibly feel like you're going crazy, especially if there's denial involved from the betrayer, and he may be trying to control the narrative. Now, if they've admitted it, they don't get a gold star, at least not in my book, but they are owning it. Regardless, right? The betrayal has still happened and it still hurts like hell, but at least they're not continuing to betray you repeatedly by gaslighting you with additional lies, which confuses and prolongs your healing. Now, in some cases, you discover the betrayal and then you ask for the divorce. And while that may feel empowering, let me caution you, you are not prepared for the divorce season in front of you yet. You're diving into a tumultuous sea without a life jacket, and you're not prepared. You are emotionally reactive, and understandably so. But look, anytime we make decisions from an emotional headspace, we tend to get caught in a storm. And if you listened last week, I talked about floating. And I often talk in metaphor because we all get it. We make strong personal connections through stories, and our brain remembers imagery more than words. So, my story about learning to float before learning to swim is simply to say, wait before you take action. Not because I'm trying to convince you that you should or should not divorce based on your personal experience with betrayal, but really because divorce is business. It's a business contract, and you deserve to be in a headspace to make decisions for yourself and any minor children, like a CEO would for a company they built from the ground up. So, in doing the business of divorce, you must try to keep the emotions separate. And hear this: your lawyer is not your therapist. They are your legal, or shall we say, your business counsel. And they bill by the minute, and they're more costly than a therapist or a coach. So, first things first. While there are many positive things you could do to help yourself survive betrayal trauma, I'm going to share what I believe is the most important for you to start considering following the immediate discovery, shall we say, to prepare you for decision making, because you must first survive the storm. Then you can clear the path forward and eventually thrive in the sunlight. And I promise you, you will thrive again. Just believe that, or hold on to the hope of that for now. Your survival depends on your self awareness and emotional regulation so that you do not begin to self betray. Okay. My number one tip for surviving betrayal trauma is to float. It allows the time to acknowledge the truth of the situation and to feel what you feel without acting on it. Now, I often hear feelings like, I'm confused, I'm insecure, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm terrified, I'm unable to trust again, and more. So use this time to self reflect and let go of the previously held misconception of the relationship. That's what'll sink you. And often that misconception is that the relationship had been healthy and loving and mutually respectful. Or, as many have shared in support group with me, that when they do reflect, they realize that they've been fighting for a marriage, often for years, trying to please someone who was already out of the door, someone who had been pointing out their flaws and imperfections. And this is often an act of deflection to keep your self esteem low, always second guessing yourself rather than your partner. So use this time to float, to reflect, and visit with your emotions, but do not become Hotel California. And if you know where I'm going with that, it means don't let your emotions check in and never leave. Validate them, honor them, and then send them on their way. And one way to do that is with tip number 2, which is expose your thought patterns that weaponize you and challenge them, because our thoughts create our feelings. So any thought that would keep you feeling responsible for his or her choices, keeps you feeling responsible, will create self-blame. So my current support group is all women because it's sponsored by a nonprofit that happens to be a women's center. So I also asked a group of men who were working at my home installing some electronic blinds recently about their experiences with betrayal. All had been betrayed before and all had something to say about it. This is not a gender specific issue. Their feelings were the same, and their thoughts, in summary, were, what did I do? Or what did I not do to deserve this? You know, as a Christian, I've been able to say even Jesus was betrayed by his friend, someone who loved him and had dedicated his life to him, Judas. So I always say I'm in good company. It's easy for me to say now that I've healed, right? But when you're in the pain of a betrayal experience, you make it about you, don't you? But it isn't. No matter how much you question your worth and doubt yourself, Your betrayer's choice was about themselves. Their choice came from a place of what is known as very high ego and low self-awareness. In other words, it's all about them, and they are not thinking about the wake of destruction that may be created while they're fulfilling their needs in the moment. Now, like Judas, they may be remorseful later, but that really doesn't change the outcome for the betrayed, does it? Now, in my co-authored book, The Gift of Shift, I share a story of the first betrayal I experienced and the lessons that I learned. And in short, my wound became my wisdom when I accepted that whatever anyone says or does is about them and not me. I hope that you can learn that same lesson. My third tip is to cooperate with time. Turn your wound into a scar. I also talk about this in The Gift of Shift in the chapter titled The Gift of a Band-Aid, which is the chapter about betrayal. And Caleb, would you mind putting the image of the book up on the screen? And The Gift of Shift, thank you, is available at Amazon or pretty much any online book retailer of choice. And you can ask your local bookseller to order it for you if you like. And it's really like a workbook. So it's a collection of short stories that my co-author Tracy McDonald and I wrote to illustrate how we've been able to shift our mindset despite our circumstances. And this particular chapter I'm talking about was in a betrayal. And then after each chapter, we have 5 questions for the reader, for you to reflect on how this life theme, and in this case, betrayal, has played out in your life. So those questions become a guided journal to help you then shift your mindset if you're still stuck and rewrite your story in a more empowering way. And if you're not still stuck, it'll remind you of that strength, so you can use that strength in a current or different challenge. Okay, so use it as a guide for your life in whatever way you can. 12 empowering chapters. So in The Gift of a Band-Aid, I talk about time as a great healer, but we have to cooperate with time, don't we? And sometimes we don't. So how? Here's where you may have to stop doing certain things. Stop wearing your wedding rings, perhaps, that represent vows that have been broken, or stop looking at photos or listening to sad songs or stalking his or her social media. In other words, put boundaries on your time, on your energy, and what the things you pay attention to. Anything that pours salt on your open wound or rips at it. I mean, stop focusing on the wound, therefore the Band-Aid. Cover it, allow it to heal naturally with time, protect it. And for goodness sakes, avoid the temptation to retaliate. Are y'all hearing Odie, my dog, in the back? He's over here snoring. I apologize. Anyway, hey, success is the greatest revenge, not revenge the greatest success, I assure you. And healing of the mind, heart, and soul can happen when you turn your wounds into scars. And then your scars become reminders of your strength. You never forget what you've gone through. It's kind of like forgiveness when you get there, and that's an entirely different conversation. And forgiveness isn't condoning or excusing someone, not by my definition anyway. It's just no longer allowing it to sink you or negatively impact you. There will be a scar when there's been a significant wound. I always think about the saying, that pain is inevitable in life, but suffering is optional. And with that, I'm not going to choose suffering. I think this is a good time for us to take another short commercial break, and we'll come back and we'll continue with my top 5 tips for healing betrayal trauma. So don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And welcome back to Soul CPR. Today we're talking about betrayal trauma. And I've been sharing my top 5 tips for healing betrayal trauma, or at least getting to a point of surviving it so that you can deal with the business of decision making on whether you're going to maybe try to reconcile a relationship or leave one behind. So we talked about the first 3 being floating a while, reflecting, getting your emotions under control, exposing the thought patterns that weaponize you, because those are what will sink you. We talked about cooperating with time, because time really can help us heal, but often we kind of sabotage that. My 4th tip is self-care. Now, this means often that you got to schedule it. You really have to plan it, because a lot of people find self-care for some reason selfish, and it's not. It's really mandatory, especially when you're going through some kind of trauma experience. What is it for you? The walking, meditation, fitness class, socializing with friends, whatever would produce happy hormones. Do you know what that is? It's whatever's going to give you a dopamine hit. How do you get it? It could be listening to music, something that gives you feelings of well-being. So it's got to be the right music. We said no sad music before, right? So what is it? Something that makes you laugh, something that gives your body movement. Now, for me, Zumba is my happy hour. So what makes you smile and sweat? Now, this I can hear some of my friends anyway in the comments. This is a family show, so keep it clean, please. But what is it for you? So another one for me would be my Starbucks peppermint white mocha. I mean, this is Christmas in a cup all year long. Okay, the peppermint, the white chocolate, it's a lot of calories, but then I go dance it off, right? So what smells evoke well-being for you? I love the peppermint. Is there something else for you? What about learning something new? I have friends, yes, at my age, learning to play instruments, taking paint art classes. What could you do that is going to distract you, again, which will help you cooperate with time, from just focusing on the pain, so that time is naturally helping you heal. That's also some form of self-care. It's for you. It's producing happy hormones. Now, chocolate's known for that, dark chocolate specifically, but everything in moderation, right? Sex is known for that, again. moderation. This is not time for a new partner. You don't need a partner, if you know what I mean. Pets, emotional support animal. If y'all heard Odie before, as I said in the first episode, he likes to be in here with me in my home office, and I'm his emotional support animal. But research has shown that we release happy hormones just by petting an animal, right? So if you don't have a pet, maybe it's a good time. I don't know. Sunlight. If that's not available to you based on your geographic location, maybe a sun lamp. Good sleep. Good sleep. So what's your routine? Do we need to look at your routine? What's your nighttime routine look like? This is a great time to look at scheduling a lot of your time so that you don't go down the rabbit hole of social media and things like that, right? And you get lost in things that aren't helping you help yourself. So when we say self-care, it's whatever helps you to feel good. It could be, you don't have to spend money. It could be a bubble bath. It could be giving yourself some downtime to read a book. Find a group that has mutual interest with you and join it. A running club, a book club. It's out there. Find it. So bottom line, if you don't know yet what that is, it's the opposite of what makes you feel bad. Too much caffeine, replace it with a coconut water drink. Don't overspend on the feel-good shopping spree. Find that balance, okay? Self-care. You likely haven't been doing that for sure. All right, that's my fourth tip. My fifth one is get informed, okay? Information becomes knowledge. Knowledge becomes power for you when you get to where you're going to be making decisions. But power without wisdom creates chaos. You see it in politics all the time. Let's get informed, grow our knowledge base, and then wait well, like in our floating, and we'll come back from a place of wisdom to make our decisions. Now, what do I mean by get informed in this sense? I mean, find a safe place to share and learn. You need to open up and share your story, what you're going through. So find a support group online or in person in your community. Learn about what you're experiencing. Learn about betrayal. You're learning about it right now, listening. Talk to an individual or a group that believes and supports you. And when I say this is for you, not your partner right now, okay? Even if you're thinking of reconciliation, it's not time for couples therapy or coaching now. This time is for you. Anything for the two of you would be too confusing right now because they could still be lying or in denial or manipulating you. What you learn right now is for you. Allow it to be a sacred space and time. So books, podcasts, sources of information where you can get clarity on truths without feeling the need to meet someone else's expectation. And what I mean by that is like from family or church or people that are too close to your situation, that might not be able to be objective about your situation. And when it does come to your partner, that's also a place to be gathering information right now. You need to be asking some very practical questions and not the why questions. The whys are what will sink you. The why, why me? Why did this happen? Why did I deserve this? Why did I, why did I not do enough? Why was I not good enough for you? Whatever those why questions are, now's not the time. They will not help you survive. But the practical questions that you do need to know and collect information about, the what, where's, when's, who's. This is important, so listen up. Take notes if you need to. Who is this person or persons? Who else knows about it? Were they ever in our home? Your car, our car? Your condo, our condo? How long has it been going on? Have they been around our kids? What lies have you told to cover it up? Have you been checked for an STD? And by the way, then you go make your appointment for an STD checkup. You ask all these questions so there are no surprises later, right? In case they show up in your inbox or at your door one day. And if you choose to reconcile later, you can focus on the real source and what I call the medical examiner's office one day, what I said in the last episode, the why. And it's typically deeper than most betrayers can even answer truthfully anyway. And if anything, they're going to have a hurtful excuse that gave them permission in the moment to cross the line. What do you need to stop doing or start doing to stop beating yourself up with the why right now? And start focusing on surviving. All right, so let's review those quickly again. Float. Reflect. That's my number one tip. Float and reflect. Honor your emotions, but don't let them sink you. Expose those thought patterns because they weaponize you. They really, really do. They're not the truth. Cooperate with time. Self-care. Find what's going to work for you. And then get informed. Start gathering information that can become your knowledge, which is your power when you need it, when it's time to make these decisions. All right? Write in the comments what else you need to know and come back to me. I do want to say this. Another source of information that you can check on beyond your community. One is check with your employer. If you're employed, there may be an employee assistance program, okay, that may have counseling or coaching services that you can tap into. Someone in my support group actually had insurance that in her insurance program that actually allowed her like a dollar amount towards legal fees for divorce. Check with your local United Way agency, or in Canada, that would be Centraide. These are both big umbrella nonprofit agencies that have lots of other nonprofits under them with lots of resources. Sometimes, and I believe the YWCA and YMCA have initial legal consults that are complimentary. So don't let fear of the unknown or fear of what something may cost hold you back from getting informed. Again, this becomes powerful for you in your decision-making process. So check all avenues, leave no stone unturned. The information is there. Check with, listen, with the divorce rate being 50% approximately for first marriages and 70 plus for second and third marriages, you know someone who's been through it. Ask them what they learned. You have resources all around you. You have to be willing to share your story. And the power of storytelling is why Tracy and I wrote our book as a collection of short stories, because a lot of people told us self-help books were too academic, or they just couldn't get through it, or they couldn't find the how-to to help themselves. And so we wrote it in story form to illustrate how we got through it by sharing a story. It's powerful, it's vulnerable. But as I said last week, vulnerability is the key to connection. And when you're willing to share your story, and let me tell you, I had like a big moment last night in support group when one of the ladies who'd been married 27 years shared a story she said she'd never shared with anyone. And the chat box lit up with people saying, I just heard myself in yours. That's what happens. People hear their truths in other people's stories, and it's so freeing. It unlocks. And she was literally holding her chest saying, I can't believe how good that feels. So share your story in safe settings with trusted sources and free yourself from this burden you've been carrying. And your survival is guaranteed, and your healing journey has begun. All right, let's take our last commercial break and come back with our closing thoughts. So don't go far. We'll be back with more Soul CPR in just a moment.
Mike Zoric, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zoric, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zoric has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to Soul CPR. And in closing today, in talking about surviving betrayal, trauma, and divorce season, I mean, to divorce or not to divorce, when you've been betrayed, it's up to you. But either way, let the healing of betrayal begin before the decision is made. To save your marriage, there must be a formal disclosure process, if you will. And ideally, that would be guided by a professional third party like a therapist or a coach. There will be a lot of questions to answer, but withholding information is what causes harm and betrays again. The truth may hurt, but deceit hurts more. So often it takes truly a repentant betrayer a few rounds to fully open up. So patience, compassion, and love will be required from both of you. And I know that wasn't really our main topic today about, reconciliation, but I do know that that is always a possibility. And it's something to be considered depending on the behaviors, right? Now, to the betrayed, you will heal. You will discover a greater purpose and meaning in your life because of it. So don't rush into a replacement relationship. That's the topic of an upcoming episode. So at least wait until you hear that before you run out there. It's really time right now to focus on your well-being. And to the betrayers who continue to betray, let me just say this. There isn't enough alcohol, drugs, or sex to fill the void you're trying to fill. Do the work to unearth the real source of your pain and stop hurting others. You can break the cycle. Now, this topic that we talked about today and the need for support can go so much deeper than we went into. Just know that everyone's journey is different and that whatever yours is matters. And in some cases, the discovery of betrayal is a portal to an escape from an abusive relationship. So don't minimize or discount your experience. So again, the domestic violence hotline has resources for all sorts of circumstances. Caleb, can we put that up again? Thank you. And you can always reach out to me, and I'll do what I can to find the support as well. If Caleb, can you put my QR code up there? Or that's my website. Yep, and the QR code, you can scan that, and that'll take you to my website. I'll do what I can to help point you in the right direction or help you myself. And for now, just choose from the suggestions that we made today, those 5 things, and figure out what's at least one thing that you can start doing and one thing you can stop doing to facilitate your survival of betrayal. Now, there are other forms of betrayal that we can talk about in future episodes, like other relationships that are affected by acts of betrayal, like parent-child. Yes, we will talk about that mother wound eventually. Let me know what or who you want to talk about, and we'll do it. So put in the comments, even if it's not while we're recording live, because I will get to see those eventually. I do want to know what you want to talk about. But next week, we're actually going to talk about purging relationships, kind of cleaning out that proverbial closet. So don't miss that one. I think it's going to be relevant to everyone, because we're going to tackle like every relationship kind of that you can think of. So that's all I really have for you today. So as we conclude this episode of Soul CPR, Healing Out Loud, just remember that healing is not a linear journey, that it is a process for all of us. And it's a profound transformation if we allow it to be. So if today's stories resonated with you, please share this podcast with those who might need a lifeline of their own. I encourage you to subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more hearts. And connect with me on social media, on Facebook at Skyview Coaching, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X at Ann Papayotti, and let me know your thoughts, your stories, and the topics you'd like to explore in future episodes. So until next time, may you find strength in your vulnerability and courage in your journey. Thank you for listening. Breathe deeply, love openly, and live soulfully.
This has been Soul CPR with host Ann Papayotti. Breathe life back into your spirit with each episode, where she and special guests explore the relationships that hurt us and discover that healing can only begin with you. Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.